Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education for December 12th, 2023. At this time, I'd like to announce that the board will meet in closed session to address items 1 and 2. And I'd like to call for public comment on closed session items. Mr. Hoffman, do we have any blue slips?
We do not.
Thank you. I am going to close public comment and recess into closed session at 5 p.m. Thank you. Good evening. If everyone could please take a seat so we can begin. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education and announce that we met in closed session and no action was taken. The Board of Education has resumed full in-person board meetings unless remote attendance is permitted pursuant to the California Brown Act. Live streaming of full in-person board meetings will be available to the public via the Zoom platform, and today's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. I'm going to share some information about the public comment process. During regular board meetings like today's, the public may make comments on items on the agenda and on items not on the agenda. Requests to make public comment will be accepted for an item up until the board president introduces that item. Generally, members of the public will be given 3 minutes to address the board. If there are 15 or more comments on a specific item, the board will reduce individual comment time to 2 minutes each. If there are 30 or more comments on a specific item, the board will reduce individual comments to 1 minute each. Individuals may not defer their time to another speaker to increase their speaking time. Please be mindful that district students may be watching. You are encouraged to address the board and the public in a respectful manner, such that all those observing, from children to adults, are made to feel welcome, safe, and valued. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings. Persistent disruption by an individual or group shall be grounds for the board president to provide a warning and then to terminate the individual's privilege of addressing the board. And all this information that I've just read is on the back of those blue slips on the table outside. So I'm going to read our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the Elk Grove Unified School District administrative facilities and schools occupy the unceded territory of the Miwok, the original people of the skies, land, and waters where we work and learn. The Miwok have cared for these lands since time immemorial. They continue to teach their traditional knowledge that comes from and responds to the needs of the land and people who share it. May our daily lives and work teaching, learning, leadership, and community engagement support the evolving vision of the Miwok for their community and these lands. May we strive to acknowledge the past for the betterment of our future generations. May we look to our tribal partners, the Wilton Rancheria, the descendants of the original people of this land, to assist with the successful education of our community. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to invite up Ms. Charlotte Rieger and Marianne Williams, principal of John Earhart Elementary School. My colleague, Ms. Jamerson, will be reading some information for us.
Good evening. Oh, I'm going to read a few words first and then I'll let you do that. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So John Earhart Elementary School is honored to recognize Ms. Charlotte Rieger as our education partner. She is the mother of 6 children. Her youngest son, Zachary, is a 5th grade student at John Earhart. Her daughter, Jana, a freshman, and son, Alex, a junior, both attend Elk Grove High School. Her oldest children, Haley and Emily, are graduates of Elk Grove High School. Ms. Rieger is a vital part of the John Earhart Elementary School community and has been a volunteer there since 2007. She provides classroom support to any teacher in need and works tirelessly to enrich the educational experience of our Eagles. Ms. Rieger is passionate about promoting parent involvement and has served every year on the PTO. She helps plan activities and events such as the Harvest Festival, Scholastic Book Fair, Penguin Holiday Shop, and even managed to find time to coach our volleyball team. Ms. Rieger has been married to Kent Rieger for 23 years. She is a breast cancer survivor, and her son Zachary is a survivor of childhood leukemia. She works closely with the youth at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and volunteers her time at various hospitals and clinics, helping children and families affected by childhood cancer. In her spare time, Ms. Rieger enjoys baking, playing the piano, and spending time with her first grandson, Austin. It is an honor to recognize Ms. Charlotte Rieger for her continued support and partnership with the John Earhart Elementary community. Okay, now you can lead.
Thanks, Dan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you just don't mind waiting for us up here. Ms. Jamerson's on her way down.
No one.
Let's give Mrs. Rieger another hand. And our next item is our annual organizational meeting. This item actually has a few different actions in it. The first is the call for nominations and then motion to elect the next president of the Board of Education. So
I make a motion. Well, I thought you were done.
no, so yes, I'm calling for nominations for the office of President of the Board of Education.
Yes, I'll move Sean Yang as president of the Board of Education.
I'll second it.
Okay, I hear Mr. Yang. I'm going to look to Mr. Yang I'll get to you, Ms. Albiani, just to see if he accepts that nomination.
I would be honored to.
Okay, that's a yes. Ms. Albiani, go ahead.
I'd like to move to nominate. Oh, my gosh.
Jamerson.
What is your last name? Jamerson. Gina Jamerson as president.
Okay, we have another nomination. Any further nominations? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close nominations and we will take these in the order in which they were presented. So let me think about the easiest way to do this. Not roll call.
Roll call.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a roll call vote. All in favor of Mr. Yang for board president. Sorry, I'm doing it wrong. Roll call in favor of Mr. Yang for board president. I'm gonna start with you. Go ahead, sir.
Aye.
Aye. Miss Albiani.
No.
Okay, Miss Jamerson.
No.
Okay, go ahead, Isabella.
No.
Okay, Mr. Fortuna.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Vargas.
No.
Mr. Bettis.
Aye.
Okay, that is 3 votes. The motion fails. I'm going to move on to the second nomination, Miss Jamerson, and let's just keep the same order. Mr. Yang, aye or nay on Miss Jamerson as board president?
Are you not gonna vote?
We are voting, sir.
No.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even count myself. Thank you. I was also a no on the first vote. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes, I failed. So now we will move on to Miss Jamerson. Aye or nay on Miss Jamerson as board president, Mr. Yang?
Respectfully, no.
Okay. Miss Albiani?
Aye.
Thank you. Miss Jamerson?
Aye.
Okay. Miss Segal?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Fortuna?
No.
Okay. Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Bettis?
No.
That is a no. So that is 4 votes plus myself is 5. The motion carries. So congratulations, Ms. Jamerson, our next board president.
Thank you.
So I'm going to complete the next 2 items here, actually the next 2, and then the establishment of our meetings, the next one, and then we will switch here. We pause briefly and the change is effective immediately. So next item is vice president. Yes. So I'd like to call for nominations to elect the clerk / vice president of the Board of Education. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Tony Perez.
Okay,
I nominate Sean Yang.
I decline.
okay. Ms. Fabiani, were you going to make a motion? Okay. You make a motion. Go ahead, Ms. Jamerson.
But
I-
thank you.
I nominate Michael Vargas.
Okay, Mr. Vargas, do you accept that nomination? Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, I'm going to close nominations for Vice President of the Board and do a roll call vote for Mr. Vargas for Board President. I'll start this time to my left. Mr. Bettis, aye or nay?
President.
Vice President, thank you. Aye or nay, sir?
Aye.
Good stuff. Mr. Vargas,
Yes.
Mr. Fortuna,
No.
Isabel,
Yes.
Ms. Jamerson,
Yes.
Ms. Albiani,
Yes.
Mr. Yang.
Yes.
Okay, and I am also an aye. Mr. Vargas, congratulations on your election as Vice President of the Board. Next, I'd like to call for a motion, excuse me, call for nominations first, then a motion to elect the board representative to the Sacramento County Office of Education, which is currently Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang, would you like to continue in that position?
Can I make a comment?
I don't believe we're permitted to make discussion, so I just, since I wasn't able to speak with you previously, I'd just like to know if you're interested in continuing in that position.
I love the title, but it just doesn't do any good as far as being in there the last couple of times of the 3 years. So I decline.
So I'm hearing a no. Excellent. So colleagues, I'd like to call for nominations to elect a new representative to the Sacramento County Office of Education. And Mr. Yang has declined.
I'll nominate Beth Albiani.
Ms. Albiani, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, I'm going to close nominations and I will start again from my left. The motion is Ms. Albiani as board representative for Sacramento County Office of Education. Please indicate aye or nay. Mr. Bettis?
You started with me last time. Why don't you start with that?
Mr. Bettis, aye or nay?
You don't want to start. Okay. Aye,
That was an aye?
aye.
Okay, I couldn't tell. Go ahead, Mr. Vargas. Aye or nay?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Fortuna.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Segal.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Albiani.
Aye.
Mr. Yang.
Aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Albiani, it is unanimous. Thank you. You are our new or once again, board representative for the Sacramento County Office of Education. Thank you. Okay, I've got one more item before we reshuffle up here, and that is the establishment of the date, time, and place of our regular meeting. So state law requires us to do this in a very public fashion. So I'd like to call for a motion to continue to hold meetings the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 6 p.m. between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. for closed session when necessary, with the place of the meetings being determined by the Secretary of the Board of Education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Albiani. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vargas. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Oh,
What is your discussion point, sir?
The calendar, are you going on the calendar also?
No, this is the establishment of the date, time, and place of our meetings.
Would that change if we had workshops in the coming year?
This is not the calendar that is before us.
No, though, that's what I'm asking.
This is the establishment of our regular board meetings, sir.
Yes, I understand it.
Doesn't include the special board meetings. This is just for regular board meetings.
Regular meetings.
Okay.
All right, so we had a vote. Did you participate in that vote?
Haven't voted yet. He did discussion. We still need to vote.
Okay,
Call for the vote.
wonderful. I would like to call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? None. That is unanimously approved. Okay, so next up, I will hand it over to you, Mr. Hoffman. For, I don't know who's leading the presentation. Gavel. Oh, do I have a gavel? Am I using this one?
I have a special gavel for you.
Thank you. All right. So just a couple of things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is mine?
That's yours.
Oh, thank you very much. It's my
Well, that
my
was
commemorative
around
gavel.
outside.
So now
Leave.
I get to present the gavel officially to our incoming president, who's going to chair the remainder of the meeting.
Congratulations.
Please give us a couple of minutes while we reorganize up here.
Okay, there we go. Shuffle complete. And we will get down to what I know a majority of you are here for. Our student regional report, Franklin Region and Elk Grove Charter School. We have Franklin High School, Toby Johnson Middle School, Carroll Elementary, Helen Carr Castillo, Franklin Elementary, Arlene Hines, Stone Lake Elementary, and Elk Grove Charter School. So if I can call on the representatives to come on up.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Levasseur. My name is Chloe Lynn. I'm a senior at Franklin High School, and I proudly serve as one of your student representatives of the Franklin region for the 2023 to 2024 school year.
Hello, I'm Robert Hoshiyama. I am also a senior at Franklin High School, serving as a representative for the Franklin region. For the past 3 years, Chloe and I have served on the same commissions throughout our leadership program, seeing many of the wonderful opportunities the Franklin region has to offer. This year, we are pleased to announce that Elk Grove Charter will be incorporated in our region. We would now like to introduce them.
Good evening. My name is Sierra Riley, and I have been attending Elk Grove Charter for the past 5 years. I am a junior as well as president of leadership, and I have been a representative of my school for the past 3 years. I am not originally from the Franklin region, so I came to Elk Grove Charter because of the flexible schedule. I'm able to attend college classes and granted the ability to graduate early. Hello, everyone. My name is Brooklyn Gregory, and I've been attending Elk Grove Charter for 5 years. I am also a junior that has been representing my school for the past 3 years. Elk Grove Charter School resides in the Franklin region and provides students with a wide range of flexible programs that allows them to earn both high school and early college credits. 80% of Elk Grove Charter students come from the Franklin region. Franklin region is the only region with a district charter school. Students at AGCS report that they are able to better balance their academic pursuits with other commitments.
Our region is comprised of Franklin High School under the direction of Principal Adam Wood, Elk Grove Charter under the direction of Principal Mark Levine, Toby Johnson Middle School under the direction of Principal Jenny Keyport, Arlene Hine in elementary under the direction of Principal Jennifer Euclid, Helen Carr Costello Elementary under the direction of Principal Megan Jones, Stone Lake Elementary under the direction of Mark Beard, Carroll Elementary under the direction of Principal Jack Ferreira, and Franklin Elementary under the direction of Principal Diane Davis.
The Franklin region has seen growth throughout our schools in our academics, attendance, and our overall social environment. Based on the 2023 CAPS test scores, an average of 65% of our Franklin region elementary school students met or exceeded standards in ELA, and an average of 60% met or exceeded standards in math.
This time of year, the attendance rate of all 8 Franklin regional schools have an average of 95%, a 3% increase from last year's average of 92.1% during this time of the year.
Additionally, our region is experiencing increased student involvement through diverse clubs and programs. Along with over 75 clubs and 22 athletic teams at Franklin High School, we're seeing growth and participation throughout our elementary and middle schools as well. Toby Johnson currently has 31 clubs that integrate the various cultures of our student population, ranging from cultural clubs such as Pali and Haka and Hmong Dance Club to lively outlets such as Drama Club and TJTV.
In addition, Elk Grove Charter provides clubs that serve as gratifying environments for students to express their individuality, such as our anime, gamers, and football club. We also have an active leadership class where we discuss events and participate in community service, such as picking up trash for the community, writing letters to seniors, and giving gifts to those in need. As leaders at Elk Grove Charter, we aim to assist others in growing both personally and academically.
Our secondary school sites support our diverse student population through the Student Equity Council, which exists at both Franklin High School and Toby Johnson. Our VAPA programs remain inclusive and active, and both our TJMS and FRHS bands are award-winning. I would also like to recognize our Cyber Patriot teams for the outstanding national achievements. The Toby Johnson Cyber Patriots team placed 3rd in the nation last year, and our Franklin Cyber Patriots team won 1st place Lockheed Martin Cyber Quest, 1st place NorCal Mayor Cyber Cup, and 2nd place overall in the National Cyber Patriots competition.
In terms of athletics, the Franklin region has a lot to offer. At Elk Grove Charter School, we are the academy partner for Sacramento Republic FC and other clubs. Currently, EGCS has 4 students on professional contracts with SRFC and other clubs, in addition to multiple national team players for both the men's and women's youth teams in Mexico and the US. We have many other students who participate in other sports throughout the community at a variety of levels.
At Toby Johnson, our accomplished teams won EGUSD championships in girls volleyball and girls basketball in 2023, as well as boys cross country in 2022. Our Franklin baseball team won the 2023 Delta League Championship and the Sac Joaquin Division I sections. Furthermore, 2 of our very own players, Nick Abraham and Nolan Stevens, won the All-Metro Co-Player of the Year award. At Franklin High School this year, we have 7 students so far who have received Division I scholarships to top universities across the country, allowing them to continue their academic and athletic careers in their post-secondary education.
Franklin Regional Schools had an average of 92% overall satisfaction on the district's 2023 climate survey. On the LCAP needs survey, an average of 90% of our parents reported that Franklin schools are welcoming and inviting. 98% of parents felt Franklin Regional Schools were safe, and 99% of parents felt that our schools had great teachers.
The following video you will see next highlights how our parents, staff, and most importantly, students feel connected and at home at our Franklin Regional School sites. Thank you.
What makes you feel connected at school?
What makes me feel connected is my friends, because they treat me very well, and it's the only place I actually get to have fun with them.
Friends will always be there to help me whenever I'm sad.
Something that makes me feel connected at school is my friends, and like how
I can meet new people and my teacher who engages me and stuff.
What makes me feel connected here at school is the students. I have the opportunity to work with many students in small groups, and I get to see and support them in the academic needs.
For me, I've been here for several years as a parent first, and then I joined the PTA, which ended up having a position open on campus, being campus supervisor and yard supervisor. And when I went to those positions, my hope was to help kids on campus, no matter who they were, whatever background, and give them something maybe they might not have, and try to make them feel connected to school and want to come to school every day and enjoy our campus.
What do you like most about Franklin Elementary?
I think most about Franklin Elementary are how we have leadership, volleyball, band, a lot of extra activities that students can have when they when their parents can pick them up right after school.
I love the teachers because the teachers engage with you. They teach you new things. They're very kind. I also like the programs because not only do you get to do school stuff, but you also get to have fun.
Favorite part about school at Carroll?
About Carroll Elementary is recess and how nice the staff and yard is. My favorite part is that my friends always make me feel welcome, and I love how everyone is kind.
What is your favorite part about Carroll?
My favorite part about Carroll is probably all the people because of how kind they are and how fun they are to play with, especially at recess. My favorite part at school is like how good they do doing breakfast and lunch. My favorite part about Carroll Elementary is how kind the school is and how equal the school has become. The Costello Band makes me feel like I belong because I get to choose which curriculum I want and I get to open up and make new friends. I'm a cheerleader at Helen Kirk Costello Elementary School, and I love getting to support everyone when we perform at spirit assemblies and other events. Being on the Helen Kirk Costello HCC news crew makes me feel like I belong here because I've made new friends and I get to choose, plan, film, and edit my own segments that everyone at the school gets to see every week.
Costello makes me feel at home because the sense of community that we feel with the staff and the teachers and how welcome they make us feel, as well as our kids.
Mr. Martinez makes me feel appreciated in the school, and also like anytime that I have problems or just personal problems in general, I can always go to him and talk to him about them. And it's like
Miss Jones makes me feel welcome at Costello because she always stands by the gate. Every time I go to the gate, she's always there, and I always give her a high five, and I try to jump as high as I can.
What really makes it home is that the people here are so welcoming. Everybody works together as a team. Everybody cares about each other. And when it comes to the kids, everybody has the kids' best interest at heart. And I truly believe that with every single one of our staff members, not just teachers, but every staff member.
Tell me about a time you felt connected to your school.
Well, my friends and I pick up trash a lot during our lunch recesses. So I like doing that because it makes me feel like I'm helping out the school.
One time a couple years ago was when there was like a golf camp, and I really liked playing there because I really like golf.
The time I felt connected to my school was when I got asked to play with my friends on the first day I came, and it was really fun.
Who makes you feel welcomed at your school?
The people that make me feel welcomed are teachers, friends, and supervisors, because we're all a big cute community together.
I feel the love and support from the whole staff.
Can you share with me how your school makes you feel like you belong?
Makes me feel like I belong because no one's really bullying me or saying mean things or trying to talk me down or be rude to me. It's just really nice and friendly.
We work together as a team, and we support each other in what we do and stuff.
It makes me feel belong with all my friends because they're like almost like family to me because I'm like really close to them.
What makes you feel connected to school?
I feel connected because all the Stone Lake staff and students are mostly nice and welcoming. What makes me feel connected to school is my friends and family and the staff.
Is all the clubs that I'm in, Rainbow Club, NEHS, and because that really helps me get to know other people and learn from them and create experiences with them.
What do you like most about Stone Lake?
I would say how I get to cooperate with everybody in my classes and how I get to meet people that's outside of my class and grade.
Who makes you feel welcomed at Stone Lake?
My teacher, Miss Houston, she makes me feel welcome because I get to make new friends from her. And she teaches me everything I know.
You feel connected to school at Toby Johnson?
Everybody's welcoming and like family, like we're connected like a family. We care about each other. We do things for each other.
Everybody's always welcoming and warming, or very warm. There's not a question that you can't answer.
My friends are really kind and welcoming, and also the school does a lot of stuff that makes me feel like I matter. In staff meetings, they ask us our opinions and everything, and that makes me happy.
I like all the activities that bring the families and the students together as well.
Something that makes me feel connected to school is the rallies and activities that we get to participate in.
We do a lot of things in a collaborative environment, whether it's with our own specific curriculum departments or as teams. This school, I've been in education 21 years, and 20 of those 21 have been here at Toby Johnson. And there's just a feeling of always wanting to work together and do what's best for the kids, whether it's, curriculum based or whether it's participating in assemblies or attending things after school that the kids are involved in, the plays, the sports. We just want to see our kids succeed.
There's everything for anyone with clubs and different programs. So it makes you feel like you belong and you can be who you are.
What makes me feel connected is being able to participate in things and representing my school, like the Franklin Invitational Band Review a couple Saturdays ago.
We have a really good morale in our kitchen. We have great students and great staff members, and I feel really connected to the school as my home, my second home.
What does it mean to feel at home at your school?
What it means to feel at home is you come to school and you're with people that you love and care about, and they treat you like a family.
When you say be at home, it makes me think about being comfortable and feeling like I can actually be open or be myself.
Being able to approach the teachers with a sort of happy casualness where I feel safe.
Tell me about a time you felt connected to your school.
Time I felt connected to my school, I think every recess I feel connected to my school because sometimes the teachers are roaming about, the staff are about, the principal, vice principal, they're all outside, they're talking to their students, they're watching their students, and we're all just having fun at recess, and nobody's really excluding anybody else.
Me and my friends were in the classroom, and we were just all helping each other out with schoolwork, and it just felt like a good place to be where nobody would judge you.
A time that I felt connected at the school is at the end of the year, we have these carnivals and everybody gets together and we all play games and eat food, and that's what makes me feel connected.
Can you share with me how your school makes you feel like you belong?
I feel like I belong here because everything is so one-on-one that I know I can just approach any of the staff and ask them a question, or even just hang out and chat for a little bit with them. And there's just no worry about whether or not you can do that.
Every time I come, there's always somebody welcoming me.
Is this on? Okay, hi. Members of the board, I'm Jenny Keyport. I'm a principal at Toby Johnson Middle School. And just to finish tonight, we have two quick student performances. And so first up from Toby Johnson Middle School is our fall crew from the musical Newsies, directed by Corinne Spinelli. Garcia. All right. Very good.
Nicely done. Great job.
Hi, I'm Megan Jones. I'm the principal of Costello Elementary School. And to end our presentation, you've got to have cheerleaders. So welcome the Costello cheerleaders led by their coach, Miss Kathy Harris.
Here we go. Here we go.
From the usual morning lineup. Start on the chores and sweep till the floor's all clean. Polish and wax, do laundry and mop and shine up. Sweep again, and by then it's like 7:15, and so I'll bring up one, or maybe 2 or 3. I'll add a few paintings to my gallery. I'll play guitar, cook and silly. Just wonder what your life begins.
Life's like a road that you travel on. There's one day here and the next day gone. Sometimes you bend, sometimes you stand, sometimes you turn your back to the wind. There's a world outside every darkened door. The blues won't haunt you anymore. Where the brave are free and lovers soar. Come ride with me to the distant shore. We won't hesitate to break down the garden gate. There's not much time left today. All night long.
Excellent job. Thank you. Thank you so much to our Franklin region. I want to acknowledge that we have principals in the house. So Adam Wood for Franklin High School, Jennifer Keyport, Toby Johnson, Jack Ferreira for Carroll Elementary, Megan Drown Jones for Helen Carr Castillo, Diane Davis Quigadon for Franklin Elementary School, Jennifer Eklund for Arlene Hine Elementary School, Mark Beard for Stone Lake Elementary School, and Mark Levine for Elk Grove Charter. Thank you so much. We're going to let the folks exit the room before we call up our next speaker. Okay, Ms. Grewal. Our next item on the agenda is Day of Remembrance. And Ms. Lavasser, do we have any public comments via Zoom? I can't see her, but.
I'm over here. Madam President, no, we have no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Okay. Mr. Vargas, do we have any blue cards on this item?
There are no blue cards on this item.
Okay.
Good evening, Board President Gina Jamerson, members of the board, and Superintendent Hoffman. I ask the board to reaffirm February 19, 2024 as the annual Day of Remembrance in the Elk Grove Unified School District. Joining me are Mariel Tsukamoto of the Florin Japanese American Citizens League, Donna Kamore Toyama of the Northern California Time of Remembrance Committee, Donna's daughter, Megan Toyama, who's also a vice principal at Franklin High School, and Kaya.
Hi.
Okay. And also Sean DeLizo, the education manager of the California Museum. All right. This year marks the 82nd anniversary of the executive order signed by President Roosevelt in 1942. The order proclaimed California, Oregon, and Washington military zones and led to the forced removal of 120,000 Japanese Americans to incarceration camps for the duration of World War II. After Japan surrendered in 1945, marking the end of World War II, the United States began to close the internment camps. Restructuring their lives after World War II was difficult for many Japanese Americans. Most lost their homes, farms, businesses, and properties. Their education was disrupted, and acts of discrimination and violence were commonplace. In 1988, President Reagan, recognizing that a grave injustice had occurred, signed a Civil Liberties Act into law authorizing payment and an apology letter to each surviving internee. Annually, Elk Grove fifth grade students visit the California Museum's longest running exhibit. It's titled Uprooted Japanese Americans During World War II, which surveys a century of Japanese history through the personal stories of formerly interned Californians. This exhibit runs from February 12th to April 4th, and students learn about the Japanese internment and about the rights denied to U.S. citizens during World War II. Ms. Sakamoto?
Thank you. I know that some of you've heard this story and this speech so many times, but I'm going to repeat it because some people are new here. It was in 1983 that the school board first started supporting this program. And the first year my mother put posters out, I think it was like 1981, nobody came. She invited some of her friends who were teachers, but nobody showed up. It wasn't until Bob Trigg came into the room, heard the story, and realized that this is not just a story about a group of Japanese Americans. This is a story of American citizens losing our rights. And history, as you know, repeats itself. So the question then becomes, who's next? And my mother understood that, Bob understood it, and more importantly, the school board understood it. As far as I know, you're the only school board that has consistently supported this program with a resolution every year since 1983. Or whatever the official time is. I think that's something to be very proud of, because we now have, I think, a world-class exhibit over at the museum. And I know Carmine has gone and seen some of it, and you know, you've gone to see the exhibit, but I want you to come back because it has videos, it has all of the technical aspects that's preserved stories. You will hear Kiyosato, who's 100. She still gives speeches and she talks about her experience. You'll hear other people, and students that come here can then, if they have the time, push a button and, you know, you've seen these new exhibits. But because you supported it, this exhibit exists. Without the support of the Elk Grove Unified School District and the partnership with California State University's archive collection and the museum staff, we wouldn't have this. The students in Elk Grove are still the main supporters of this, but it really belongs to everybody within the region. And I'm hoping if you have friends, relatives, and people who have children in other school districts, that they too will support it. But those school districts don't have you. They don't have someone, the school board, sitting there supporting this program. So the teachers don't think it's important. And it's an important story. It's an American story. So I want to thank you and congratulate you, for you are part of the legacy and history of this story. And now I'd like to invite Sean DeLiso from the museum to come speak.
All right, I want to thank the Elk Grove Unified School District Board and administration for your ongoing support of the Time Remembrance program at the California Museum. We're grateful to you for your shared commitment to ensuring our community's young people not only learn about the incarceration, but also are inspired to take action toward securing justice for all. Today, attacks on groups of people based on their ethnicity, immigration status, and religion are increasing, making the importance of programs like this clear. The students who experience the Time Remembrance program better understand the Constitution and realize that the rights it provides can be fragile. They leave knowing the importance of standing up for the rights of others whenever they're challenged, and knowing that a person of any age can make a difference. Since the start of our partnership, over 20 years ago, over 50,000 Elk Grove students have participated in this program. Last year, our staff and docents were overjoyed to see so many Elk Grove students return to in-person programming and experience the new iteration of the Uprooted exhibit. Although students from schools all over the state take part in this program, we always have the highest attendance and the best prepared classes from Elk Grove schools. It's your support that makes such engagement possible. We couldn't do it without you, and thank you again for supporting this important program.
I would like to call for a motion to approve resolution number 32, reaffirming the Day of Remembrance resolution originally introduced by the Elk Grove Unified School District in February of 1983, declaring annually a Day of Remembrance across the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Yes, I proudly recommend approval resolution number 32.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you again. I want to give you a personal invitation. You know, if you belong to a book club, if you belong to a group that is interested in coming, call the museum. You get a special price for 16 people, I think. And I'll make sure that one of us, one of my friends or somebody shows up, and we will take you through the exhibit.
Thank you so much.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, excuse me. When do you have it? Do you have the date for
You know,
the next ceremony?
we have the dates for the school children, but this is an invitation for you. You mean the dates of when you could come?
No, the annual program that you have
Oh, what is it?
for Day of Remembrance. Yeah.
The exhibit runs from February 12th to April 4th.
There's the single day.
No, I think you're talking about the time of remembrance.
Yeah,
So
time of
I
remembrance.
think that's Saturday, February 14th. If that's a Saturday, we'll send you an invitation.
Just one day?
It's one day.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Can I make a comment?
Pardon me?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you for continuing this effort of telling the story of the Japanese internment camp. That journey, that story, I think is so brave of you and your team to continue to voice that struggle, that story, so that people could understand that living in America, being second class or colored people is not always easy, but you must fight for your right. You must fight as an American, and you continue to display that through being here, speaking out the story, and share it in exhibits form. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Yeah. And now I'd like to call Miss Danielle Black for the observation of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
Good evening, President Jamerson, Ms. Siegel, members of the board, and Superintendent Hoffman. The Board of Education is requested to adopt resolution number 34, designating January 15th, 2024 as a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. As part of the Board of Education's legacy of advocacy for equity and the value of diversity within our school district, members of the board have the opportunity to recognize January 15th as a celebration of Dr. King's birthday. Dr. King devoted his life to the struggle for justice and equality and is universally recognized as a proponent of nonviolence in the pursuit of freedom. Dr. King firmly believed that the road that led to justice, equality, and a new sense of dignity for millions of Black people opened for all Americans a new era of hope and progress. Dr. King's birthday not only reminds all educators of our responsibility and privilege to assist our students in developing their skills to reach their dreams for achievement and to preserve a nation that practices equality for all, but it also recognizes a National Day of Service, which calls for Americans from all walks of life to work together to provide solutions to the most pressing national and local problems. The instruction in Elk Grove Unified School District schools acknowledges the contributions of Dr. King in a variety of activities, including lessons from our adopted curriculum, assemblies, presentations featuring highlights of Dr. King's life, and speaking and writing activities based on his speeches. In support of this resolution, the Curriculum and Professional Learning Department will offer a virtual workshop, Art as Tribute, The Life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., available to all EGUSD employees on January 16th, 2024, to explore how various forms of art have been used as tributes to Dr. King, including monuments, murals, paintings, sculptures, and music. This is the fourth time I'm offering this training, and we have over 200 people already registered and more probably after tonight. The book Martin Luther King, A Peaceful Warrior by E. Clayton is one of the district's elementary recommended reading list books for 6th grade and is part of ongoing curriculum that recognizes leaders and heroes from all cultures and ethnic backgrounds. Additionally, all students, parents, teachers, and staff are encouraged to observe this day of service by engaging in volunteer activities in service to their local community. I humbly request that the Board of Education adopt resolution number 34, designating January 15th, 2024 as a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
Thank you. Ms. Lavasser, are there any public comments via Zoom?
Madam President, we have no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, do we have any blue cards for this item?
There are no blue cards on this item.
And then I would like to call for a motion to adopt resolution number 34, designating January 15th, 2024 as a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
So moved.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment? Thank you for reading that resolution. First, I want to start by sharing a heartfelt tribute to a Hmong man whose name is Du Zhe-xiong. He was a comedian and an activist nationally. He have came to Sacramento many times, touched many Hmong people, the adult and kids' lives. 2 days ago, December 10th, he was announced kidnapped while he was in Colombia on a vacation. Today, his family has an announcement that he has passed away. He was murdered. I want to pay my tribute, just say his name, Du Zhe-xiong. He was a son to someone. He was a brother to someone. And he was a friend to many, many thousand people. Rest in peace. In addition to that, thinking of the resolution of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think of not violence, hate, but love, peace, come together with different cultural, celebrate our diversity and grow together. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is student expulsion and voluntary transfer recommendations. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board in closed session regarding a student expulsion recommendation? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the recommendations for student expulsion.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor to approve the recommendations for student expulsion? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Second item is request for return from student expulsion. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the recommendation for readmission from expulsion.
So moved.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor to approve the recommendation for readmission from expulsion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment for items not on the agenda. Ms. Lavasser, do we have any public comments via Zoom for items not on the agenda?
Madam President, we have no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, do we have any blue cards for items not on the agenda?
Yes, Madam President, we do have a few. So we'll start with Dustin Noble. And Kirk is on deck.
A little too close there. Good evening, Board President Jamerson, fellow board members and Superintendent Hoffman. I'm here tonight to talk about paraeducators. EG Speaks has put a lot of attention and focus on this topic and has had a lot of meaningful and very constructive conversations with district administration and staff over the last several months. In the coming months, and just like every year, proposals and agenda items will cross your desks related to paras, and I'm here to ask that you approach these things with a new perspective. I volunteer at my children's school every Monday, and throughout the day, you cannot not see an amazing paraeducator doing their job. Running to and from the office, walking a child around the track, sitting with a child, having a moment, working in the classroom, running a small group, or working one-on-one with a child. They lift our kids up and keep them going. They are a guiding light for our kids. And if this were football, while they may not be the coach, they're most definitely the quarterback. They make the hard moves, they work hard to execute the plays and bring the team together. The work that they do cannot be measured and far exceeds that of their contract and their job description. I and many other parents feel that some schools would simply not be able to function without their sci-paras. They just do so much. My own son would not be where he is today without the amazing paras that he's had in his life supporting him. But even with all that said, there's still work to be done to change the culture and the way that paras are treated and regarded. Sometimes they've been regarded as just the teacher's aide, or even brought up as being the lowest end of the district or bottom of the barrel. And while that might be said in the context of district hierarchy, they're most certainly not any of these things. I encourage you all on your next site visit in your region, visit a levels classroom or a gen ed class where a para is present. Engage with and shadow them. See the work that they do. Through this lens, you will learn how essential and amazing they are. They are the backbone of this district. They are not the bottom. They are the foundation. They deserve so much, and I hope you all agree too. Thank you, and I hope you all have a very happy holidays.
Thank you. All right, next up is Kirk, followed by Gary Hickman.
First thing, someone who has a kid on IEP who requires a para, everything that guy just said, times infinity. All right. So you'll all be glad to know I'm not here today to discuss the pornographic books, our school libraries that are in our school libraries that this board purchased at an exorbitant price. That's not why I came here today, so I won't mention it at all. A topic I've noticed keeps coming up at these meetings is bullying. Now, I'm not talking about the bullying that a lot of us probably experience as kids, being made fun of for a bad haircut, being bad at math, being short, being athletic, et cetera, all that stuff. At the last meeting, a mom came here and stated that she had to get a restraining order against a student to protect her kids at school. One of the first meetings I ever came to, a parent was so upset about the racial slurs constantly being directed at her kids that she directed a racial slur at Mr. Yang, which was unprompted, uncalled for, but she did it to make her point. That's how far it had gone for her. So I'm going to make a recommendation to parents that many people are not going to like to hear. But as Darth Vader said, search our feelings, you know it to be true. Parents, you need to teach your kids how to fight. And if you can't teach them yourselves, it's something you'll have to invest in. Now, personally, I recommend wrestling, jujitsu, or some sort of grappling martial art. Wrestling is probably your best bet since the schools have wrestling programs. These grappling martial arts are also the best value because they have the added bonus of your child being able to defend himself and being able to say afterwards, I never hit him. The confidence that comes from knowing you can defend yourself is life-changing. From my personal experience, I graduated from high school, 5'7", 145, fully clothed. So I was not a big person. I was bullied a lot less in school once I started learning various martial arts. And I attribute that to two things. One, bullies by nature are cowards. Anyone with confidence in themselves is a threat, and therefore someone for a bully to avoid. Two, learning to fight is a great way to get totally jacked, man. As the kids say, right? That's how the kids say. No? Okay, anyway. Seriously though, even a physically small person in good physical condition can put off an aura of potential danger, and no bully wants to deal with that. Bullies want their targets weak and scared. Knowing how to fight makes you physically and mentally strong with less fear of any opponent. Parents, we all need to come to the realization that if you've come to the government, which is what this board is the government, to fix your problem, you've already lost that battle. It's time for all of us to address this bullying issue. So what I'm saying is that it is imperative that you all stop letting your kids be afraid of bullies and start making bullies afraid of your kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Gary Hickman, followed by Heidi.
Good evening. I am here today. You guys know why. I wanted to express my disappointment that the concerns that we have expressed over the past year regarding library books and their content were not really taken up in the instructional materials and library media's policy. I know that you made the effort, and I appreciate the effort. You said that it was not an easy, short process. I appreciate that. But you fell short. My concern about this topic is the morality. It's the morality of the issue, okay? The fact that our concerns about pornographic content and that it's not being addressed. Earlier tonight, there were a series of very cute girls who were here. They were very sweet. It was great to see them. It was great to see their energy. My concern as a man is that I know what pornography does to a man's heart. I know what it does to his mind. I know what it does to his eyes. Okay, so when you have content like push, but he still sex me up. I have a pit in my stomach, but hot, tight in my twat. I think I want it back. The smell, the bedroom, the hurt. He slaps my face. It still stings. My ears sing separate songs from each other. Calls me names, pumps my pussy in and out. He bite me hard, a hump. He slams my hips so hard. I scream in pain, orgasm in me. My body shakes, grabs me, calls me fat mama, big hole. Slaps my thighs like a cowboy do horses on TV. What does that do to a boy? What does that do to a man? When they look at a girl, when they look at a woman, instead of seeing her quality, and instead of seeing what she can do, he will only potentially see her curves. A young boy or a young man might look at this and think that that's how a woman wants to be treated. That's how a woman should be seen. And that is my concern. Okay, so we just had somebody talking about bullying. Okay, so a boy might think that that's how he needs to see people, talk about young girls, because that's how everybody else does. A young girl who doesn't feel strong or secure about herself might think that this is how she deserves to be treated because she doesn't look like a movie star, or because she does, and therefore that's all that people will see. That is my concern. It's the morality of the issue. That is what I was hoping that you would address. You didn't address it, and therefore we will continue to discuss this. Okay, the issue's not gone away and therefore we cannot either. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Last up is Heidi.
Thank you. For many years, parents in South Rancho Cordova and other parts of Area 7 have been promised secondary schools for their kids. When my family moved into Area 7, our oldest daughter was only 6. We were told that we would certainly have secondary schools in our neighborhood by the time she went to middle school. Fast forward 11 years, and not only does our Area 7 not have any secondary schools, but you keep pushing the timeline out year after year. At the most recent facilities update to the board, the district representative stated that our area could expect secondary schools in 5 to 10 years, but then corrected herself and said 10 years was most realistic. At last week's Superintendent's Parent Advisory Committee meeting, Ms. Coates' colleagues stated that we might not see a school for 15 to 20 years. It seems that no one at the district can give parents an exact answer, but one thing is clear, the timeline is forever getting delayed. At the same Superintendent's Parent Advisory Committee meeting, we learned about Measure M, which was a bond passed in 2016 totaling $476 million. It was also mentioned that Measure M bond funds are coming to an end, and the district may be seeking to pass a new general obligation bond with possibly no intention of building new secondary schools for Area 7. It's important to note that parents in Area 7 may not be willing to vote for your proposed bond when you continue to delay building secondary schools for us. To say that there is not a current need for these secondary schools would be far from reality. The evidences of overcrowded schools include students being bused to other schools from McGarvey, Sunrise, CAMS, and PGHS due to overcrowding, insufficient parking for students at PGHS, and horrendous traffic around both CAMS and PGHS. Some parents are making 2 trips per day to and from CAMS or PGHS. This is 2 hours of driving time with traffic and pickup drop-off lines. If parents choose to use the bus, they are stuck with an unreliable transportation system that is not equipped to properly serve our area. So if you're going to continue to take South Rancho Cordova and other parts of Area 7 into your district and gladly take our bond dollars, then it's time you provide us a middle school and high school to properly serve our students. If you don't want to do this, then don't plan on our vote in favor of your upcoming bond. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is the end of our blue cards.
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Ms. Lavasser, are there any public comments via Zoom for this
Madam
item?
President, there are no public comments for this item.
Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards for this item?
There are no blue cards for this item.
I would like to call for a motion to approve items 1 through 27 on the consent agenda. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mr. Perez.
Yes, I like to pull.
Can you use your mic?
Yes, I like to pull item number 7.
Number 7. Are there any other items that would like to be pulled? Then I would like to call for a motion to approve item 1 through 6 and 8 through 27 on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Mr. Perez?
Item 7, which is ratification of grants, contracts, agreements for funding. And I'd like to congratulate staff for pursuing item 1, 21st Century Community Learning Center core funding, 2, 21st Century Community Learning Center equitable access, 3, 21st Century High School after school safety and enrichment for teen core. Those are very important programs that are going to be beneficial to our school district. And also, last, in number 11, Tobacco Use Prevention Education Grant Award. You know, I mentioned before, there's a lot of vaping within our schools, And hopefully we will address that issue with this type of funding. There is a lot of funding in this 1 through 4 within the 21st century community learning centers. I would like staff to prepare us a learning booklet to get us informed about the regulations and guidelines for these programs and what particular areas that we are going to spend funding monies for these programs. I did go on the web to research these grants, and there is a lot of guidelines and speculations and where they should be at and targeted students. So I would like to make sure that all us board members are on the same page regarding, priority of funding for these programs and making sure that the allocations of funds are equitable throughout our school district and they go to these particular targeted students. Thank you.
I'd like to call for a motion to pass item number 7 on the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, bargaining units. Are there any bargaining units who would wish to address the board? Okay, seeing none. We move to public hearing. I am calling on Mr. Riley for the MOU between Elk Grove Unified School District and American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, Local 258, regarding comparability study.
Thank you, President Jamerson. Members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman. The MOU between the Elk Grove Unified School District and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, Local 258, regarding implementation of the comparability study has been ratified by a vote of the AFSCME members. Education Code Section 3540.2 stipulates a fiscal review by the Sacramento County Office of Education of negotiated agreements to determine the fiscal or financial impact of the agreement on the district budget. The AB 1200 report, which provides the financial analysis of the MOU, is attached and was submitted to SCOE for their review and has been approved. As such, the EGUSD board is asked to approve or ratify the attached MOU agreement.
Thank you. Ms. Lavasser, do we have any public comments via Zoom on this item?
Madam President, we have no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Correction, I would like to open the public hearing. Apologies. Seeing as there are no public comments via Zoom, Mr. Vargas, do we have any blue cards on this item?
There are no blue cards on this item.
And I would now like to close the public hearing and call for a motion to approve the MOU between Elk Grove Unified School District and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME Local 258, regarding comparability study.
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, I would like to call Mr. Schweitzer for 2024-2025 open enrollment.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman and Ms. Lavasser. Thanks for filling in tonight. Here this evening to share the open enrollment process, make recommendations, and share the timeline for you to approve as we enter into the 2024-25 open enrollment process. Tonight, we'll cover the open enrollment process, which includes all of the legal aspects with ed code and board policy, factors that go into planning, there are many of them, and our recommendations for open and closed schools and our timeline for next year. Education Code 35160 and Board Policy 5116.1 allows us to provide enrollment options for families and to identify schools who can accept students on open enrollment. It also allows for us to limit the number of students who can participate in open enrollment based upon space at each of our schools and our enrollment projections. Many factors go into our planning. There are multiple data-driven sources that are considered as we determine the site's ability to participate in open enrollment this year. Several of those include site capacity for enrollment based upon the number of classrooms on campus, their enrollment projections, the site's ability to maintain that capacity of enrollment over multiple years, the current enrollment, as well as their feeder school enrollment, so those students who are coming in, the trends in open enrollment with the net gains and losses over the years, any new housing that's in the attendance area, the enrollment trends of new students returning to the district or coming into the district, other sites' needs to redirect students, maintaining the quality of programs at sites, and maintaining stable enrollment at all of our sites. Once again, we're going to recommend that no more than 5% of any school students be allowed to transfer to another school through open enrollment so that those sites can maintain their enrollment and staffing to ensure of a comprehensive instructional program. So here on this chart, we have all of our numbers for our middle school. It includes their site capacity, the enrollment projections for 24-25, and the projected availability for our middle schools. So these projections for middle school on this page and then high school on the next page do not include any potential redirects. So this slide includes all of our middle school. You can see their numbers, what their projections are, and then any space that would be available or not available at each site. And then on this slide, we have the same slide, but for our high schools, including their capacity, the projections, and then any available space for them. So this evening, I'm here to ask you to take action on and improve our recommendations for open enrollment and the timeline. We're going to now review specific sites who may be impacted by enrollment, and we'll look at each of those impacted sites and provide a summary of all of the closed sites for this year and our recommendations for next year. So all of the following schools, we'll just go one by one, are either going to be recommended to be closed or capped at a net gain of 100 students. So Catherine Albiani, you'll see it's projected to be over-enrolled compared to their site capacity. So once again, we're going to recommend they be closed. If you recall, they've been redirecting students since 2014, 2015, and those redirects will go to either Kerr Middle School or Smedberg Middle School. Edward Harris Jr. is projected to be within their site capacity. Their enrollment is maintaining pretty steady next year, so we're requesting their open enrollment be capped at 100 students again this year, and we want to ensure that they're able to enroll all of their neighborhood students as well as maintain enrollment at Monterey Trail. Toby Johnson, although they're projected to be within their site capacity, they're right about site capacity. Their numbers continue to increase each year, so we're requesting that they are closed for open enrollment. If you recall, last year we did redirect, and we're able to bring back some of those students this year, but we do want to make sure that they're closed next year so they can enroll their neighborhood students. Elizabeth Pinkerton, projected to be within their site capacity. As you know, we have continued new housing being built in the area with a lot of students moving in. Their numbers continue to increase, so we are once again recommending that they be capped at 100 students. And TR Smedberg Middle School, they're projected to be within their site capacity. Their enrollment is maintaining pretty steady, so we're requesting their open enrollment be capped at 100 students. We know that they accept redirects from Catherine Albiani. And then Cosumnes Oaks High School, they're also projected to be within their site capacity, similar to Pinkerton, lots of new homes being built in the area. Their enrollment continues to increase, so we're requesting that they be capped at a net gain of 100. and Franklin High School. They're projected to be right at their site capacity. We have previously redirected from Franklin, but not this year. So we're requesting that they be closed to open enrollment so that they can enroll all of their residing students. And Monterey Trail, they're projected to be just under their site capacity. So we're requesting that they too be closed to open enrollment. We want to ensure that they're able to enroll all of their neighborhood students as well as accept all of the Edward Harris students. And Pleasant Grove, they're projected to be right at their site capacity. So they're going to be closed for open enrollment. Similar to Albiani, they've been redirecting since 2014-15, and their redirects would go to Elk Grove High School and Sheldon High School. And then lastly, Sheldon is projected to be under their enrollment this year. So we are recommending that they be capped at 100 students through the open enrollment process. So on this slide, we have a side-by-side comparison from 2022-23 through our recommendations for 2024-25. And as you can see, the only difference would be Sheldon High School opening them back up with the ability to take in 100 students on open enrollment. We're continuing to monitor a few of our school sites. So Albiani and Pleasant Grove region, as well as the Toby Johnson and Franklin. We monitor them on a weekly basis, and we'll continue to do so as we continue to enroll for next year. And then our next presentation in February, we'll show all of the results of open enrollment throughout this process. And just a few reminders, we do send out a survey to all of our families who participate in the open enrollment process for their feedback. Typically, the top responses for wanting to go through the open enrollment process is a program's not offered at their current school. They're looking for a more challenging program in childcare. And then a reminder for our parents, once students are enrolled into their school of choice via open enrollment, a student does not have to reapply for admission at the next grade. So for example, if a student applied to Kerr for the 7th grade, they would not need to reapply for 8th grade. If they wanted to go to Elk Grove High School for 9th grade, though, they would need to resubmit and apply through that process again. We also have our timeline for the open enrollment process. So upon returning from the break on Monday, January 8th, we'll send out all of the information to our families regarding the open enrollment process. We'll put everything onto the open enrollment webpage, send out emails, calls, and text all through Synergy. And then the open enrollment window would be open Wednesday, January 10th through the following Friday, January 19th. And we would send out reminders on Monday, January 15th to our families. Very busy time. We get a lot of phone calls during those couple of weeks, answer a lot of questions, and help families through the process. If needed, the random selection process will run on January 23rd, and we would be able to provide a site of students, the student list out to the sites on January 26th. Parents would be notified the following week, the week of February 5th. We'll come back at the beginning of February to show you all of the data from open enrollment. And then February 13th would be the deadline for parents to accept their open enrollment spot. And then if needed, sites would continue working on any remaining wait list through February 26th, the end of February. And lastly, once again, our request is for you to take action and approve our recommendation for the open enrollment process and our timeline for the 2024-25 school year.
Thank you so much. I'm going to call on Ms. Lavasser. Are there any public comments via Zoom for this item?
Madam President, there are no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards for this item?
There are no blue cards for this item.
Okay, then I would like to call for a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Oh,
for
what happened to questions?
Thank you. Discussion. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Okay,
Want to start with
Mr.
me?
Fortune, go ahead.
Okay. Chad, I have a few questions here. Are we still making projections based on targets that we've talked about before, which is 800, 1,200, and 2,400 respectively?
Are we making projections based on those?
Projections, yeah.
I'm not familiar with that, but the projections go on a wide variety of factors.
Yeah, we've talked about in the past ideal attendance at being around 800 for elementary, 1,200
Those
for
are,
middle school, and
those are the
20.
numbers that are built into our master plan that the board's approved as kind of our standard, yes.
Yeah, okay. So can we go to slide 15? If we're looking at high schools at around 2,400 and Monterey is 140 under that, you're saying that our expectation is that they will get 140 new students coming into the Monterey area?
Yeah, yes, we monitored Monterey Trail pretty closely this year, as well as Edward Harris. They continue to enroll students all the way up through the semester, and that's something that they're possibly even looking at too for the spring, is requesting some additional FTE because they continue to enroll.
Okay. Can we go to slide 17? Last year, Sheldon was closed. And I know that there were requests to consider not having it closed and capping it. I also made that request and we said no. What has changed at Sheldon whereby the recommendation went from closing it to now capping it?
Yeah, so this year, for 24-25, their projection is going to be at 2310. That's over 100 students less than last year for projection. And we've also done kudos to Albiani and Pleasant Grove. They've been able to begin contacting students on the redirect list and bring students back. So in the next few days, once the master schedule and Synergy rolls to 2024-25, we'll be able to set what that redirection date is going to be for Albiani and Pleasant Grove. And we feel comfortable after analyzing all the data and bringing back some of the redirects to Pleasant Grove that there will be space at Sheldon for next year.
Okay. And then the last question. Based on slides 5 and 6, in the open enrollment discussions that you and staff have you had discussions about attendance boundary changes such that those heavily under-enrolled schools would indeed have additional students as a result of those boundary changes, which would also then alleviate the overcrowding situations at some of the other schools?
Yeah, my team has not, as part of this process, done that. Yeah.
Is there wisdom in looking at attendance boundary changes?
I would defer to Superintendent Hoffman for that one.
Well, there's wisdom. Well, one of the pieces, it's certainly a tool that we have at our disposal. You know, part of the challenge is because we're 320 square miles, as the boundaries are currently configured, it does allow kids to go to schools that are relatively close to them. If something were to change in the not too distant future, we could certainly take a look at boundaries, but it hasn't been one of our top priorities in looking at, because we do have redirection and other tools that we're using currently. But boundaries is it's a little bit of a 4-letter word in the world of boards, but I know you're not afraid of those kinds of things. But it hasn't been a top of the mind conversation, although we're certainly aware that it could be.
Okay. I'll probably have my legs cut out from under me here in a second. You know, as I look at boundary changes, which I recognize is not necessarily a popular topic, by looking at boundary changes, from my perspective, you take care of 2 issues. One, the issue we're talking about right now, and 2, the whole issue of a middle school, high school in the Rancho Cordova area. By making boundary changes right now, there are kids who go to Albiani and to Pleasant Grove that could be redirected into a new area, thereby increasing the total number of kids that might be available. So I really do see advantages, and utilizing our practice, our new practice, I am going to make that recommendation.
I'm not clear.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the
Hold on.
families you're referring to of going someplace other than PG from that area, one of the challenges that we have is a distance issue. So with regards to the folks that are currently in the Anatolia and Rancho Cordova area, if we did a new boundary shift of some kind that moved some kids who currently go to PG to another school, so there was longer term room for kids from Rancho Cordova to come to PG, and that would put off the need for a middle school, high school in that
That's
area.
not what I was saying.
So where would you be increasing?
Currently, the kids from Rancho Murrieta who are going to Cress, and kids out of Wilton going to Dillard. Both of those school sites go to Albiani and Pleasant Grove. As we've had discussions about the numbers of kids going from Anatolia to Pleasant Grove and Albiani, we have not looked at the numbers from Cress and Dillard.
Well, we've certainly looked at those numbers.
Well, you may have. I've never heard that discussion as it's been discussed, but it's okay. I'm going to follow the process and make a recommendation.
Okay.
Are you referring to you're going to request that to be an agenda item?
Yes, you will be getting
Get an email. That's how that works. Welcome to the club.
The clarification.
I second that if you need one. Is the motion?
Okay. No.
Okay.
Do we have any further questions for my colleagues? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Chad. I'm looking at the table on slides 5 and 6. So I've seen that Albiani is at negative, and also Pleasant Grove is negative as far as capacity, or I should say past capacity. So why do we allow to pass capacity?
They would not be at capacity. The projection is over at capacity. So in the next few days, we'll set a redirection date by which possible students coming into Albiani and going from potentially one of the 3 middle schools, Albiani, Smedberg, or Kerr, that they could possibly be redirected.
So what you're saying is projection, but we're going to redirect them so that we don't pass capacity.
Correct. Yes, sir.
The other thing that can happen in open enrollment is there could be some kids who are slated to go to some of our larger schools, and they may choose to go to one of our smaller schools. So we want to let that whole process happen before we make some of those decisions. So there is some passing in the night between families that choose. Because for families, if I go to one of the smaller schools, there's one band, there's one football team, there's one choir. And so maybe there's more opportunity for me to participate in this program. So we want to let all those processes happen with our family choices through the process before we have to make those decisions.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. I also want to make a comment. The fact that looking at these two tables, all of these schools, except those 2 that I mentioned it, they were not at capacity. So I definitely recommend it for the leadership and the staff to look more in depth into how do we come to a solution to minimize our students at those schools and possibly build a new school or whatever it may be to bring the solution. I definitely strongly recommend it. Thank you.
Mr. Pettis.
As I recall, I wasn't sure if it was this program or some other program. Didn't we request or something missing of the survey why people are requesting enrollment at other schools in the other presentation, did you provide that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll come back at the beginning of February and share
Okay.
that open enrollment survey data with you. Once families go through the open enrollment process, we do send out a survey to them with some to collect data for why they chose to go to another school and go through the process. Yeah, so I'll bring all of that back in February, have all of the numbers and data for you.
Okay, good. Okay, I know I was, something was missing here. Okay, the timeline.
Yeah, tonight's just the request for approval.
Okay, so other than that, you mentioned Monterey High, that students throughout the school year are requesting transfer over there or what?
It's not necessarily transfer. We close them to any permits or open enrollment this year, but they do have new students enrolling from out of district moving into the area.
Okay,
Yeah.
and most likely, I presume that it's because of academics, not sports.
Yeah, they cannot transfer schools for athletics. That's a CIF
Right,
violation.
right, yeah. And the last question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the last one here, what was that? What was that? Oh, you mentioned that capacity, a lot of these are from new homes now, correct? And which one of those within your list is mostly impacted or are going to be impacted by new development?
Yeah, there's several new developments coming in predominantly.
Can you go back to that list and tell us?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah. I verbalized those. It's predominantly Pinkerton Middle School, Cosumnes Oaks High School. There's a new development that will impact Kerr that is coming up on Bond and Waterman area. There's several new developments coming in, obviously the Rancho Cordova, Sunrise area.
Okay. And Mr. Sporcino, you didn't mention your meeting or wasn't sure about your boundary change. It wasn't a district boundary change, it was a school boundary change.
Attendance boundary change.
Attendance of the Elk Grove Unified.
Yes.
Okay. And your conversation that you had with Mr. Hoffman, talking to Rancho Cordova, was that discussed on our growth or issues regarding we had in that geographical area?
When we had the discussion
with Rancho
last
Cordova
summer, I believe, about facilities, it was mentioned at that time, and there were no further discussions with respect to that issue.
Are there going to be? Because, you know, I mentioned to the board that there's other school districts within that geographical area, like Folsom.
Right.
They're talking about, you know, school district boundaries.
Yeah, there will be a discussion at the point in time that I make my request for it to be an agenda item, one way or the other. It'll be agreed to by the president and the superintendent that'll come forward to the board. Or if they decide not to bring it forward, then that grants me the opportunity to make the motion. And then if there were 4 board members who would vote for that item, then we could discuss it.
Okay.
Any further questions about the presentation, Mr. Perez? Any further questions about okay.
Yeah, I do have one more, if you don't mind. Just to follow up quickly. So Chad, I have students parents that came to me regarding redirect the kids. How do we rectify that process so that there'll be a little bit more easier for folks that are being redirected? Any sort of amending that process to make it a little easier, if possible? What's the game plan?
Yeah, thank you. Not an amendment to the process. I know the student that you're speaking to. As I said, Albiani is currently bringing back redirects. They've spent time this week The list has come down considerably, so the goal would be that students are able to return this year, or at least have that offer throughout that process at Albione and Pleasant Grove. As you can imagine, for Pleasant Grove, many of the upperclassmen, for example, 10th through 12th graders have opted to stay at Elk Grove and Sheldon. And we saw that similarly with the middle school students that were in 8th grade wanting to stay at Smedberg and Kerr. So that has allowed us to remove students and or bring them back to help rectify that problem of the redirects.
Thank you.
Yep.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So just briefly, I want to say I really appreciate the recommendations. I'm in the southern part of the district where we are bursting at the seams. So I deal frequently with these calls and concerns from parents about their shock that they're not going to be able to enroll their kids in their neighborhood school. So I very much appreciate the recommendations being conservative where we are really close to those capacity numbers and allowing some space for those kids from the neighborhood to come back if they so choose. So thank you.
Yeah, we're continuing to monitor Toby and Franklin. Yeah.
Any further questions from my colleagues? I would like to call for a motion to approve the staff recommendations for the 2024-2025 open enrollment process and timeline.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the 2023-2024 first interim financial report. Ms. Watkins.
Good evening, Madam President Jamerson and fellow trustees, Superintendent Hoffman and Mrs. Lavasser. This evening, I am presenting our fiscal year 2023-24 first interim report. This slide illustrates our perpetual budget reporting cycle. In September, you received our 2022-23 unaudited actuals, establishing our beginning fund balances for the current year incorporated into tonight's report. In January, the governor will release his budget proposal for next fiscal year, and we will update our assumptions based on this information for our 2023-24 second interim report in March. Tonight, we will review our first interim total general fund revenues and expenditures, general fund changes from the adopted budget to the first interim budget revision, multi-year projections for the next 2 fiscal years, components of our unrestricted general fund ending balance, and our next steps for accountability. Our total general fund revenues, unrestricted and restricted, exceed $1 billion. Over 68% of our total general fund revenue comes from the state's local control funding formula, or LCFF, 15% from federal sources, 16% from other state sources, and 1% from other local sources. Our total general fund expenditures, unrestricted and restricted, are over $1.1 billion. Nearly 72% of our total general fund expenditures are spent on salary and benefit expenditures. And note that is restricted and unrestricted dollars, with over 28% spent on supplies, services, capital outlay, and transfers. The changes in our first interim budget report since the adopted budget for the general fund include an increase of $3.6 million in current year LCFF revenue, resulting from the coordinated efforts of several departments to collect income data from families. This work increased our reported unduplicated pupil percentage by 7% since our adopted budget assumptions to ensure we receive funding targeted to support our English learners, foster youth, homeless, and students from households of federally defined socioeconomic status. The first interim report also includes changes identified in our year-end closing process and unaudited actuals report,
Specifically, carryover budgets and rollover purchase orders were posted, and the contribution to special education was updated to align with planned expenditures and available funding. Our multi-year projection assumptions are included in greater detail on page 103 of the attached first interim report packet. Enrollment and average daily attendance are updated to include current year actual CBEDS data and attendance trend data of 93%, an increase of 1% since fiscal year 2022-23. The 2024-25 projected budget reflects a 3.94% COLA, which aligns with the estimate published by School Services of California at adopted budget. From recent estimates by School Services, FCMAT, and the Legislative Analyst's Office, we anticipate the COLA will be revised down around 1% with the governor's budget proposal in January to reflect economic indicators that statutorily define the COLA. It isn't reflected in the first interim report because we have not received official guidance from the state yet. Cost increases for step and column, PERS retirement rate increases are included. The multi-year budget maintains our 2% required minimum reserve for economic uncertainty. It is important to note that the multi-year projections do not include any negotiated agreements related to comparability as was approved this evening. These increases and any others approved in January will be included in our second interim report. The projections also continue to maximize spending of our one-time restricted funds. This is the multi-year projection for our unrestricted general fund. Our current year shows deficit spending resulting from the 2% one-time payment to employees from our unrestricted ending fund balance. We project budget surpluses over the next 2 years based on current assumptions that we know will change. Again, this doesn't include any increases in employee compensation. This slide shows the components of ending fund balance. The board committed funds by resolution this past June alongside our current year adopted budget for the mitigation of funding impacts from changing unduplicated pupil percentages, professional development, and one-time employee costs related to comparability and other employee cost increases. These commitments continue to be reflected in future years until the expenditures are budgeted. Future years also include assignment of ending fund balance for textbook adoptions. And these are the multi-year projections for our restricted general fund. Note that the current year expects a spending deficit. That is because we are attempting to maximize restricted one-time dollars. That is an allowable deficit because we received the dollars in prior years and we expect to spend them down over time. We also expect surpluses in future years based on timelines for those current restricted one-time dollars. Now, our next steps for accountability includes the Sacramento County Office of Education we are now on electronic reporting, so they get our electronic report and approve that, review and approve and forward that to the State Department of Education. Then we will receive, as was shared previously, our January governor's budget proposal. We'll get that in January and report out by February, the results of the report for 2024-25. We'll be back in March with the approval or asking for approval of second interim report. And then we'll have the governor's May revision in May, which will give us better guidance to what next year will look like for the budget. And then we will be back in June with the adopted budget and request your approval. This time I'll turn it back to you, Madam President, for any questions and comments.
Thank you. Ms. Lavasser, are there any public comments via Zoom for this item?
Madam President, there are no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards for this item?
There are no blue cards for this item.
And then I will turn it over to my colleagues for questions. I will start with Mr. Perez.
Page 6. General fund changes from adopted to first interim. I was very concerned many months ago because of the fact that we did not spend funds to go count those students. And now that we did, I'm wondering how much did we lose prior to counting? You know, what was the loss of dollars that this district lost because we didn't become proactive at that time? And now, you know, you're telling us we increased 3.6, but overall, we could have had a lot more, correct?
Correct. And I wasn't here last year, but I am aware that we had a similar effort last year. Last year was the first year of our change in the meal program guidelines. We still collect free and reduced lunch applications, but because we now have universal meals, there is no incentive for families to complete those applications.
Right.
So last year, I believe, a little over a year ago, we had undertook the same work. This year, we started a little sooner. And so we're continuing to improve. I can't quantify. It may be a different number because we'd have to look back at what was reported last year was roughly 50%. And those amounts are averaged over 3 years. So there is a current year impact, but there's also a multi-year impact.
Correct. Now, in other words, disencumbered, is that the same thing as carryover budget? Or when you disencumber, right? You can carry it over, depends on the funding.
So at year-end close, we eliminate all encumbrances. There are carryover budgets allowed for certain programs, and so those get re-encumbered in the current year.
So on that first interim report, that's what I was looking for. I was trying to find where programs were, and I did find some, but yet, is there a report that we have by list of programs that we disencumbered, that we did not spend totally?
We can provide that detail on the carryover budget.
Okay, that's very important to me because, you know, these are federal, state funding, and I'm very concerned because, like I say again, these students need a lot of programs to, you know, especially reading, math, and skills in the early elementary age. And like the gentleman said, we need paraeducators in each classroom. That's what I'm promoting and requesting with those type of monies that we have.
So Member Perez, if I can answer, you said that you made a comment that we don't spend fully, and I will clarify that, as you noted on the consent agenda, we get grant awards that are multi-year.
Right.
And it's expected that we release those encumbrances and re-encumber in the new year based on the allowable expenditure period.
Right. So maybe we need to look at that and analyze that if we have, you know, a report like that, because the fact that, you know, why aren't we spending, you know, that money during that fiscal year versus the next carryover? And then the other issue I was worried about, and I did support, and everybody knows that transfer of revenues. You know, I did see a lot of in that how many pages? 163 pages? Well, I forgot. Disencumbered monies or transfer monies, and I'm wondering, you know, why does a school district like ours need to transfer monies through other programs? And so I was trying to analyze that, and I did have a hard time. And I was looking at that, and there's no explanations on some of those reports that where the money came from.
So I'll share.
I put some notes on those pages, and maybe I just need to sit with you and deal with that issue.
We can certainly do that, but I will share the contributions or the transfers that you speak of to other programs within the general fund. The majority is contributed to special education. That's because special education is underfunded at the federal level and the state level. So it's a contributing program to fully support it. In addition, we make a contribution to our routine restricted maintenance fund. That's a required contribution of 3%. And those are the majority of the transfers. We also make a transfer to, I believe it's Child Development Fund, to support that program.
And last, within that report, I did notice one item that I think it's 21, it was mentioned a couple times, that we have received funds from the community, transportation fees from individuals. And I thought that we do not charge, or I was led to believe that we do not charge our students to, transportation fees to and from school. But yet I see that in this report. What is the policy? That's what I'm wondering about. And, that's $295,000. And so I was wondering what geographical areas is being charged a fee. I need to dig in more in that arena. So that's just a few of the concerns I have. And, maybe, and that, I know we're going to receive the BC, we're going to have a district transportation plan, and maybe they need to discuss that issue in that plan and LAO report that we received over here. So maybe we need to receive another one regarding the new amended amount that that was reported. No, today in the closed session, we had a different numbers. Okay. 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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Chaitis Espinosa.
No questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fortuna.
I need to explain something.
Do you want me to come back to you? Sure. Okay. Isabella?
No question. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Vargas?
Nothing for me. Thank you very much.
Salviani?
I just wanted to point out, we've charged transportation. I paid for 13 years of bus transportation. So it's a sliding scale. The more kids you have, the less expensive it becomes. It's been a practice all the time my kids went.
Thank you.
No questions for me. Thank you.
Are you ready, Mr. Fortuna?
No. But maybe Amari will have it off the top of her head. What I was looking for, Amari, was, and just to get it on public record, because I think it's important. What is the district's contribution from the general fund to special education? I thought it was on page 71, but I didn't find it.
I don't have the page memorized, but I'll see if I can find it real quick.
Oh, okay.
While I'm doing that, do you have other questions?
Yes,
Okay, do you want to go? I can multitask.
sure. I don't want to put you on the spot. And I'm going to ask you a question that I've already had a response given to. Just because, again, I think it's important to put it on the public record. Do you have any information with respect to when the Board of Education will have an opportunity to have a thorough budget discussion prior to being asked to approve the 24-25 budget?
So do I have information as to a date?
Mm-hmm.
Have to look at the schedule, but the budget is presented in two parts. So we'll have a first meeting that will go over it in detail, and it will have a public hearing, and then it will come back to the board for approval. So that will give you 2 weeks of space with the information, or 3 weeks from the time we post it to the time you take action.
Okay, I'm going to make a statement.
We'll have a deeper conversation before that.
Say that again?
We'll have a deeper conversation before that.
Before
Because we've already started with the board priorities. Again, we have a lot of work to do to work through. We still have the plan for the second block grant. So there's a whole bunch of pieces that we're going to be working through with the board related to general fund budget, as well as the one-time funding and how they interact with each other.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I cannot recall in the last 2 years when the board has had discussions about budget priorities as general discussion.
Right, because what we've done recently is we had the one-time funds and we were building through the ESSER plan. So now, as the ESSER plan comes to an end in June of this year, the work needs to be moving forward as we're back to the general fund to be able to, we have to make decisions around existing positions within the general fund, as well as those board priorities that are currently one-time funded using the block grants and having conversations about which of those can we prove are valuable and we want to continue long-term. Questions could be, depending on what funds are available, is there something on that list that has proven to be so important that it may have to replace something else if there's not enough funding to continue doing things that we're doing. So those are conversations over really the next couple of years as we're managing this general fund piece with the board priorities and how we make the board ultimately makes decisions on which of those continue, which of those go away, and if there's other adjustments to the general fund to allow those things to happen.
When you reference other, would that be inclusive of the board having discussions about priorities to existing programs like additional hours for library techs, like more FTE for classrooms to lower class size, for more custodians?
The direction we have from the board right now is that the ESSER positions were transitioned into the board priorities. So that's the list we have currently. That's the direction we received from the board. The board will have an opportunity to look at those positions. Now, if there's things on there that the board has given us direction to use the one-time funding, first block grant to keep those positions in place for 2 years beyond this school year. Board's already given us direction to do that.
Not out of general fund.
I just said the first block grant.
Yeah.
The board gave us direction to keep those positions in for 2 years beyond this year. The work is going to be, if there are dollars that become available in the general fund, I can't predict this, but my recommendation to the board is they would go to that list first before they came up with something new that we haven't already identified, because those 300 positions are the current board priorities. If the board, as a board, wants to make decisions that those positions go away after 2 years, because we already have the 2 years of agreement that they're in place. But if the board were to make additional general fund expenditures before they made decisions about those board priorities, they would be telling those people on the list that these other things are more important than them. And so that's obviously board discussion that.
Yeah, what the board would be saying is that the addition to existing program, which has already shown benefit, can be supported prior to extending positions that have no data to support their continuance.
Well, I would say that the things that we put into the ESSER plan that are now the board priorities were things that largely built upon existing things that were working. As an example, AVID. So we expanded AVID into elementary schools because we had data that showed that it was effective at our secondary school. So most of the things that are in the ESSER plan that have now become the board priorities are build-upons. They weren't brand new ideas that didn't have any connection to anything that we were already doing. They were extensions of existing work, but those are all conversations we'll have.
Because we had $320 million from the federal government.
Right, so we got to do some things we always wanted to do.
So what you are saying is, unless there are at least 4 board members willing to have a discussion such that we would be allowed to look at other priorities we've not been able to address for several years, that those discussions will not happen?
I did not say they will not happen. What I said is.
I said unless.
I mean, you put words in the mouth that are just not true. So what I said specifically was, we have those positions already. The board's given us direction. Those are the board priorities. If the board wants to have a conversation about other things that aren't on that list, the board can have that conversation, but the board would be sending the message that the things on that list aren't currently the board priorities.
I heard you, and that's exactly what I said. Unless 4 people are willing.
Well, no, we're gonna have the conversation about
Heard that year in and year out, and this board.
It's not true.
Oh, well, I totally disagree with you.
Okay.
Also, what about the valuation?
Let's get back on track. And Mr. Fortuna, if you.
So my understanding is there will be discussions prior to the 24-25 budget coming before the board for approval, which will be prior to the 2 weeks that Amari indicated we will be getting information.
Yes, and it's going to come to you in a variety of ways. We have the second block grant work that we need to do.
Yeah, we sure do.
And so priorities there. So all of this has to come together, but the reality is the board has given us direction that the 300 ESER positions that we narrowed down to 295, 294, those are the current board priorities for fiscal years 20, beyond the 2 years beyond this year. That's the direction the board gave us. The board has the authority to change that direction.
But but currently, we don't have, as of today, we don't have the dollars to continue those.
Yeah, or anything else.
Or right.
Anything else you want to do.
Correct. But what I'm hearing is you're not going to give me that opportunity.
I don't know how you're hearing that, because I don't know how else I can.
Because you said that the priorities are the maintenance of those positions, and unless the board changes the direction, that is the direction.
Well, that is the current direction. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I'm like totally frustrated because for a lot of reasons. One, we were promised evaluation data prior to making recommendations to continue positions, and we don't have it.
Before we ask for an ongoing dollar, you will have the evaluations. That process is being put together right now. There's no ongoing dollars that have been asked for those positions. The promise was, I'll go back and show you the presentation, was before we make a recommendation for any of those positions to be put on the ongoing list, that we would bring you the evaluation. They're still funded one time using the first block grant. That was the promise. That still exists.
So unless the board makes a decision to take dollars from the visual performing arts block grant and dip into reserves, which was what your recommendation was, then those positions go away.
I'm not following you at all right now.
A couple board meetings ago, when you talked about those positions.
The positions are funded for 2 years using the first block grant. The question we had was the non-personnel, the second tier of the board priorities, non-personnel. The personnel items have been given direction by this board to fund them for 2 years beyond this fiscal year. When we originally brought you the information, the first block grant had more funding. And so we thought that we were going to be able to cover all of the non-personnel funding items for an additional year and just be able to use the first block grant. What we communicated to you and the community was that that was reduced. So there's enough to still cover the positions. We think there will be a vacancy rate that will allow us to cover a good portion of the non-personnel items, but we may need to use a portion of the second block grant to keep the non-people things in place for one more year. That was the conversation that we had.
But this board, if it chooses, can move to have discussions about other priorities.
Board can change direction for sure.
Okay.
I don't know how much clearer I can say it.
Okay. I want to stick to this presentation. Mr. Fortuna,
Yeah, hold on.
Mr. Fortuna, you had a question for Amari about the special ed, and I just wanted to see if you wanted to come back.
I did, and the report doesn't break it out, but I will share that on page 7 and 17, it shows so page 7 shows the unrestricted contribution to restricted general fund. Page 17 shows the receipt of that. And the breakdown is $27 million for routine restricted maintenance, $108 million for special education.
Okay. So, all right. We were putting in about 30 million. So the dollars that 30 plus, the additional dollars we got last year decreased that contribution.
The additional one-time dollars.
Right.
We also received restricted funding towards special education, mental health services. There's other pots of dollars specific to special education that, yes, do reduce the amount of the contribution from unrestricted general fund.
Thank you, Amari.
Is it?
Page 17 is the actual page 17 right here at the bottom.
Please use your microphone.
It's the bottom number. Do you have two page numbers?
So for the group in the dais and the audience at home, there are numbers that are standardized on the reporting pages.
Yes.
And then there is the numbers that we add. So the top number are the page numbers for the entire document. The bottom number are by fund, the numbers for each independent fund.
And you were referring to page 17, which I see.
17 of the entire document. So that would be the restricted general fund.
And that special ed is 51 million, rounded off right there.
No, special education contribution is 108 million.
Oh, wait,
The
wait,
report doesn't break it out, but you'll see the $135,800,000 amount includes all contributions within the general fund.
Yeah, I don't see that. Well, I'm on page 17, but I do see the special ed master plan.
Are we on a different?
And it's a 17, it's right above it's 20, and then right below it's his actual page. So am I on the right page?
I don't.
But
I might be on a different page.
What?
Mr. Perez, if you wanted to meet, I think you.
I can go over here. I can look at 17 of contributions. The other.
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, seeing that.
Oh, okay, I see it. I see it right here. Contributions.
Okay,
as
is there a
was-
question there?
Yes, that's the area I had a big question about. So that is contributions to special ed only?
No, it includes routine restricted maintenance contribution, which
Okay.
is required at 3% of total outgoing expenditures for the entire general fund.
Okay.
Okay,
You're welcome.
I would like to call for a motion to approve the 2023-2024 first interim financial report.
I move to approve the first interim report.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item. Thank you. Thank you, Amari. Thank you, Ms. Watkins. Board member and superintendent reports. Do we have any board members and superintendent who wish to submit reports on organization and committee meetings relative to the district and its operation?
I'll do a very quick one. First, I just want to say congratulations, Jamerson. I look forward to the work this coming year. And I'll be in contact more often than I have been recently. So appreciate that. I want to thank you to the staff, thank you to the board, the entire Elk Grove Unified team. It's been a really strong start to the year. Crazy that we're halfway through it, but appreciate all the work that's been done to this point, and look forward to the spring semester. And I hope everyone's holidays are filled with joy, friends, and family. And I'm just super happy. My son is home from Dublin, Ireland, and actually going to have a full family home for the holidays. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just want to note really quickly, before attending the CSBA conference that many of us attended, was it last week, 2 weeks ago? It all blurs together, I don't know. There was a 2-day delegate assembly meeting for the California School Boards Association, and lots of work was done. Highlights I will mention, we have a new president, so that was all very exciting. And the conference was very informative as usual.
I have a question regarding our region. There was a vacancy. Did they fill that?
What region are you talking about?
Our region.
Delegates?
Yes.
Yeah, at the last meeting, you voted against me being the representative.
No, I'm talking that there was another one that you didn't want to vote on. And so I guess I assume that at your meeting, they elected or appointed somebody.
Sorry, I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay. It's in the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. I did attend the PI meeting, and the representatives there from our unions gave some important feedback to Ms. Avey regarding the diversity training. It was all very positive. So I think we're moving forward with that as well. Okay, and there are no.
Excuse me, I do have an agenda item.
Yeah.
Which following our new procedures, I am allowed to make.
The
we have to post them.
Pardon me?
We have to post them on the agenda. So I can talk to them, but the way it works, you spoke to it earlier.
I can, according to procedures, if a board member is to request of the president and the superintendent to have an agenda item on the agenda. If the superintendent and the president disagree, the board member is allowed to bring it forward.
We haven't had a meeting and denied you one.
Excuse me.
We haven't had that meeting.
1 month ago, I sent an email to you and the past president. I never heard from the past president. You said to me, why do you want to do this? We already did it in August. And I indicated why. So since apparently it went into a black hole, I am asking this Board of Education to consider an agenda item to review the handbook with respect to board members' opportunity to ask follow-up questions once they have spoken, and to look at the amount of time a board member is allowed to talk.
Mr. Forcina, we did have an informal conversation. So but we do need to have, and for whatever reason, we didn't get together to have the conversation. The idea of the new process is if the superintendent and the board president don't agree to have the item on the agenda, then what we'll do is then that member can say, I want it to be put on the agenda for discussion. That way the public knows we're going to consider it. So the idea is if we can have this conversation, and if I haven't made a decision or talked with the board president to say we're not going to do that. And I think we did just recently do it. But then what we would do is then you would have the right to add it to an upcoming agenda, but it would be actually under that item, we would actually write handbook, review of board handbook. So then the public would know we were going to talk about it. So if you had any clarification, because remember the challenge we get into, the same problem we had before, is when the topic just comes up, the member has to try to explain it and we end up in a conversation and it violates the Brown Act. So we can have the conversation, but it would be that the item would actually show up underneath the header. That's why the header's there and it says no items, because we didn't have any, but we can add that for the next meeting. And then the public will know we're going to have a discussion about that.
Okay, I mean, I'll apologize if I didn't do it correctly, but I suppose I was showing the same level of respect that I received.
I tried, I spoke to you, so, okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is adjournment. I adjourn this meeting at 8:29.